The following program is paid for by Lifespan Wealth Management, providing financial advice since 1993. At Lifespan Wealth Management, the main thing they do is provide retirement planning and advice and manage their clients' investment accounts. If you're looking for a financial advisor, contact their office at 478-922-8100 to set up your complimentary consultation. Lifespan Wealth Management has offices in Macon and Warner Robins for your convenience, and you can learn more about them by visiting their website at retirerelax.com. While you're on the site, visit the special report section, which provides great financial education information on many different topics. You can also sign up to receive their digital feeds, which are short videos providing great information relevant to retirement, investing, and matters that affect your money. They also offer seminars to the community at no cost. If you're looking for a guest speaker for your church or civic organization, give them a call to discuss the topics you would like them to cover. Again, their contact number is 478-922-8100. Now, from the Macon studio of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's time for Your Money with Sherry Goss, Randy Goss, Jonathan Eisner, and Corey Albrecht.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So Jonathan is out today, so you're not going to hear his voice, but he's fine. He's just on a little trip. So it's great to be back with you this morning. And as always, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to tune into our show. It's going to be a beautiful but hot weekend, so please be careful out there. And as always, do not hesitate to send us questions that you would like us to address on a future broadcast. You can send these questions to Randy at rfmoney.com. And Corey, why don't you start off with a market update? There's been a lot going on.
Yeah, you're right. And there has been a lot going on. After several weeks of strong gains, U.S. stock market took a breather this week. Investors continued to digest a mix of economic data, Federal Reserve policy expectations, geopolitical developments, and ongoing questions about surrounding the sustainability of the artificial intelligence-driven rally that has powered markets higher through the first half of the year. While the overall market experienced modest weakness, the pullback appeared more like a rotation between sectors than a broad-based deterioration in investor sentiment. For the week, the S&P 500 declined approximately 1.4%, while the NASDAQ composite fell roughly 2.2% as technology and semiconductor stocks faced profit-taking. The Dow was relatively flat, losing less than 0.1% for the week. Smaller companies also experienced some pressure, with the Russell 2000 falling almost 1%.
Yep, and the technology stocks were definitely the center of attention this week. Investors have become increasingly selective after tremendous gains seen in many AI-related companies over the past year. Several semiconductor and AI infrastructure names experienced declines as investors question whether the future earnings growth will continue at the extraordinary pace we've seen to date. While enthusiasm surrounding artificial intelligence remains strong, this week's trading demonstrated that investors are becoming a little more value conscious. However, bolstering the case for continued growth in the AI tech sector was Micron, which had a blowout report Thursday that sent their stock up almost 16%, which equated to about $165 per share at the closing bell Thursday. And in full disclosure, we hold this in some of our models. One of the more notable themes during the week was sector rotation, as investors moved some money out of the high-growth technology stocks. Defensive sectors such as healthcare and consumer staples and utilities attracted buying interest. Healthcare and consumer staples were among the strongest performing sectors of the week, highlighting a preference for stability as other sectors have tapped the brakes.
And of course, energy markets also remained a major focus because of the conflict with Iran. The good news on that front, though, is that oil prices declined significantly during the week as concerns surrounding Middle East supply disruptions eased. The drop in crude prices provided a boost to transportation and airline stocks, which benefits from lower fuel costs. Several major airlines posted strong gains as investors anticipated improved profitability heading into the summer travel season. Lower energy prices also helped ease some inflation concerns that had surfaced earlier this month.
Yep, and then there's the new Fed. Investors are still evaluating the Federal Reserve stance and the path forward. While inflation remains above the Fed's long-term target, our recent economic data shows a generally resilient economy with steady consumer spending and a healthy labor market. Market participants remain divided on the timing of the future rate cuts, but most agree that the Fed is likely to remain cautious as it balances inflation risk against economic growth. And looking ahead, investors will continue monitoring corporate earnings, inflation data, and developments in the AI sector. Despite this week's pullbacks, the broader market remains near historic highs, supported by solid corporate profits, continued economic expansion. Many analysts view the recent weakness as a normal consolidation followed by a powerful rally rather than the beginning of a major downturn. So don't panic.
The key takeaway from this week is that while leadership within the market may be shifting, the underlying economic backdrop remains constructive. Investors appear willing to take some profits in the high-flying technology names while continuing to seek opportunities in other sectors of the market, which is normal. As the second half of 2026 gets underway, attention will likely remain focused on earning growths, interest rates, and whether the next phase of market leadership broadens beyond the AI theme that has dominated much of this year so far.
It's going to be interesting to watch the rest of this year.
Very much so. So here's some good news. I believe we all know someone who has battled some form of breast cancer, either directly or indirectly. Well, there is good news in the fight to end breast cancer. AstraZeneca and Gilead have recently won approval for treatment of an advanced form of the disease. Gilead Sciences' Trodelvy and AstraZeneca's Datroway won FDA approvals for advanced triple-negative breast cancer patients. Triple-negative breast cancer patients are individuals diagnosed with an aggressive subtype of breast cancer that lacks the three most common receptors known to fuel breast cancer growth. When the pathologist tests the cancer cells, the results come back negative for estrogen receptors, progesterone receptors, and the HER2 protein. Because these three typical locks are missing, standard targeted therapies and hormone treatments cannot be used, making it uniquely challenging to treat.
Yep, it's good news. They may not have cured breast cancer, but they may have found a way to treat at least the form of cancer without using radiation. Both drugs are a type of targeted therapy that uses antibodies to identify a protein found on most triple-negative tumors and then delivers a concentrated dose of chemotherapy directly to the cancer. The aim is to spare more healthy tissues than standard chemotherapy, which attacks the growing cells throughout the body. These drugs both reduce the risk of progression and the disease by about 40% compared to chemotherapy.
That's huge.
It is.
Upwards of 48,000 Americans were diagnosed with triple-negative breast cancer last year. It is often diagnosed in younger Black and Latino women. Patients with the advanced form of the disease live for a median of less than 2 years.
Wow.
The disease speed is why doctors say the first treatment choice matters more than for slower moving cancers. Triple-negative breast cancer reoccurs and spreads after an average of around 2.5 years, compared with 5 years for other breast cancers. About half of the patients never get a second type of treatment. Gilead's approval rests on 2 trials, both measuring how long Trodelvy kept tumors from growing. There isn't enough data yet to determine whether the drug extends patients' lives. Trodelvy, when given on its own, cuts the risk of tumor progression or death by 38%, compared with chemotherapy in patients who weren't eligible for autoimmune therapy. In patients who could take immunotherapy, which represents about 30% of all triple-negative breast cancer patients, a combination of Gilead's drug and Merck's Keytruda cut the risk of tumor progression or death by 35%. AstraZeneca's drug Datroway, in its own trial against chemotherapy, cut the same risk by 43% and extended median survival by 5 months compared with chemo. AstraZeneca didn't test its drugs in combination with immunotherapy for these approvals.
So there is so much going on in the healthcare arena, and there's so much competition to see who can get there first, who can have the best drug with the best results, and that's a good thing.
It is. And I wonder how much AI is going to help. Excuse me. I wonder how much AI is going to help with this, because we're seeing AI help in so many ways. I mean,
the healthcare community is all using it.
Yeah, and I mean, and this, and I think you have a compounding effect. You know, when you crack the nut on one thing like they've just done here, you know,
It leads to the next
It leads
thing.
to the next big thing. So
Yep.
I think more big things are to come.
Yep.
Anyway, hey, we came across a story this week that really falls into the category of if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. So what is it? Videos on YouTube showing people appearing to get rich on Polymarket and other prediction market platforms. Too bad none of it is real. Well, maybe a very small fraction. So let's talk about what's going on. In one video, a college student, which we'll just call George, posted a video that showed him winning $100,000 on a wager that President Trump would publicly say the word McDonald's. And we all know how much he loves McDonald's, so a lot of people probably thought that was a good bet. But he was going to make that bet that he would say McDonald's on television sometimes in that month. George's bet was one of 145 bets he was supposed to have made on the Polymarket website between January and June. Based on his videos, those bets added up to almost $410,000.
And he must have been a trust fund baby to have that kind of money laying around to make $410,000 in wagers, especially a college student that was supposedly living in his dorms.
Right. Well, the thing is, the Wall Street Journal investigation found that none of those bets were real. The video shows George jumping up, celebrating as Trump says the magic word McDonald's. Well, Trump did say that word, just not that month. The clip of Trump saying McDonald's was from 2 months earlier.
George surprisingly declined to comment, and he is just one of dozens of mostly college-age creators Polymarket paid to film themselves making fake trades and sometimes scoring fake wins, according to an analyst of more than 1,100 videos by the Wall Street Journal.
The students were also provided instructional materials and interviews with creators who have worked with the company, and I read that more than 50 other accounts on the Polymarket site made the McDonald's bet in January, public data shows. All of them lost. In its push to draw users to its unregulated platform, Polymarket has flooded social media with videos like George's, which appear genuine at first glance. In reality, Polymarket built near-perfect copies of its website, then instructed creators to make simulated trades on those dummy sites and hide that they were actually being paid by Polymarket. To get the videos to go viral, Polymarket has recruited a social media army to copy and repost creators' footage. Polymarket, a New York-based company, has been banned from offering its primary crypto platform in the U.S. since 2022.
Yeah, like Corey said, the Journal reviewed over 1,100 videos posted by 10 creators endorsed by Polymarket's contractor between December of 2025 and June of this year. In 70% of the videos, the creators placed a bet. Cues on the video show that none of the $1.9 million in bets were real.
Most videos simply showed the bet being placed, but 118 showed the creators reacting to outdated footage or fake headlines suggesting that they had won. These 118 videos depicted creators winning almost $900,000. In reality, those bets would have lost more than $166,000.
And you multiply that by the number of people who follow these supposed winners, these paid actors basically, and those people who are following them make the same bets that they did on the fake trades, and there's no telling how much money was actually lost.
The company instructed creators not to disclose they are paid, according to creators who have worked with the company. They said the pay often added up to $2,000 to $3,000 a month. One of the earliest videos suggested a fake trade was posted on social media in June 2025 and filmed inside Polymarket's New York office. It showed someone placing a $100,000 bet that Jerome Powell would say good afternoon during a press conference. The caption called the bet a valid testosterone test, and it would have won.
Yeah, and the Journal identified more than a dozen discrepancies between the real Polymarket and the simulated sites. One password-protected website was creatively misspelled, where they creatively misspelled the URL. The real URL is the company's name .com, so it's polymarket.com. They replaced the L in Poly with a capital I, which is indistinguishable from polymarket.com when the I is capitalized. And a handful of videos the Journal reviewed also contain short glimpses of URLs indicating the sites were test environments for the Polymarket engineers, not intended for public use.
Yeah, they took that site down when the Journal contacted them for comment. Why do that if you have nothing to hide?
Right.
Here's a crazy justification made by one of the college students that worked as a Polymarket content creator. He compared the videos they created to fast food commercials, where the food can appear more appealing than it does in real life. He said, and I quote, "We're depicting what actually happens." He said, "You're still going to buy the burger."
He fails to understand that people can lose everything in these situations, betting on occurrences that may never occur in hopes of getting rich, and doing so based off of guidance that is often fake, misguided, greedy, and definitely not in their best interest.
That's right. Here's the bottom line. And when we started this segment off, we started off with, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Right now, the prediction markets are a lot like the Wild Wild West. Regulations are still morphing and will continue to do so for quite some time.
Remember, prediction markets do not have a fiduciary duty to the individuals who trade on their platforms. In the financial world, a fiduciary duty is a strict legal obligation to act solely in the best financial interest of another party, such as an investment advisor managing a client's portfolio. Prediction markets do not manage your money. They function as neutral execution venues or exchanges, meaning the legal relationship is entirely different.
That's right. And as we have discussed, these venues can use deceptive social media marketing using simulated trades, fake wins, and guaranteed losses based on the evidence found by the Wall Street Journal. Look, if placing bets like shown on some of these predictive sites was as lucrative as they portray, then we should all quit our jobs. The truth is, they're not.
Often the side hustle mantra is peddled to attract people to predictive market space, touting the ability to generate large monthly sums of money. The suggestion is far from the truth. Bloomberg said the side hustle dream died on the Polymarket platform. Here are some interesting facts identified by the journal. In their April 2026 report, they found that the bulk of winnings flowed into a very small group of accounts that appeared to be automated trading bots. Of the roughly 2 million wallets that had been active on the platform since the start of 2025, nearly half saw gains or losses of under $10. This suggested that many users were simply testing out this form of wagering. Yet, even within the casual cohort, the majority finished underwater. But nearly 100,000 lost at least $1,000, and some lost six figures or more.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, they see the hype and they want in on the action. It's that fear of missing out, or FOMO. And unfortunately, losing $1,000 is money they could not afford to lose. So be careful and don't fall for the hype. Get in touch with a real financial advisor and establish a financial plan for yourself. And if you work for a company that offers a workplace retirement program, be sure to take advantage of it and contribute at least as much as they are willing to match.
Please do, because it's free money. I'm going to veer off the article here for a few seconds to talk about the employer contribution that is part of the workplace retirement programs found at a lot of companies. It is a really good deal. The part you, as the employee, contributes comes out pre-tax, so it lowers your taxable income so you don't miss as much. I don't think people understand the program and how beneficial it is for them in the long run because according to Society for Human Resources Management, or SHRM, around 34% of employees who participate in a 401k plan fail to contribute enough to receive their full employer match. Furthermore, when looking at specific demographics, about 42% of workers earning under $40,000 annually miss out on at least part of their match. Even worse, 4 out of 10 do not contribute at all. Over the lifetime of working years, that adds up to a significant amount of money.
It does. And, I could understand the people who are earning under $40,000 a year because at a 20% tax rate alone, that alone would reduce the net income to $32,000. And that doesn't take into consideration state taxes and Social Security and all that stuff, and then rent and, car payments and stuff like that. So there's not a lot left. I get it. They're trying to get as much money in their pocket as they can. But the other side is they're missing out on the future.
Big time. So a couple of years ago, a guy who's a checkout guy at Kroger on Tom Hill Sr. came to see me for an appointment, and he brought his wife who's 100% disabled. And he's been working at Kroger as a checkout person for over 30 years. And he has
nice guy.
Is a really nice guy. And he lives in a little house that is paid for. His wife is fully disabled, so that's all. She just gets a little disability check. And he works at that register every day I am there. And it just kind of blew my mind because I see him all the time, and he's just such a nice, friendly guy. Well, he came to see me. He has saved over $1 million, and he's still working because he likes to work and he's making money. He completely understood the investments he was in. He was all over looking at the returns. I mean, he was dialed in, and he did that being a Kroger checkout guy.
Well, you take a look at the guy up in Massachusetts that was a janitor his entire life.
Yeah.
And ended up
But with over $1 million.
like $30 million.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was crazy. He just bought a little stock here, a little stock there. Just kept investing, and he just lived a very, very modest lifestyle. And no one knew he had that money. But when he retired or when he died, his estate he built a new library for the city.
Yeah.
That
was a really good story.
It was a great story, and it highlights the fact of what you're talking about. You don't have to be in a 6-figure, 7-figure job to save money like that. You just have to have a little bit different philosophy on how you're going to spend your money.
And I will tell you that I see people with 6-figure incomes, and they're hardly saving anything because they have to have the big house and the new car.
The lifestyle creep.
The lifestyle thing because of who they work with. It's really dangerous. So, yeah, you got to really think about what you're doing with your money and your future because the future's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, the only thing that I can think of on this topic is at my last job, I had a coworker who talked about his buddy that was the same age as him. They went to school together. I think they were in their 40s, and his buddy was retired, and all he ever did was work at Publix. And because of their ability to buy Publix stock from the get-go, that's all he did. And he had $2 million at 40 years old, and he retired.
Good for him. And I have a friend that the old Southern adage here is the chickens have come home to roost. He and his wife have always wanted to live life to the fullest, and they chose not to save money. And now in their early 60s, they are experiencing health problems. Their house
maintenance expenses.
They have all these bills that have piled up, and they are in bad financial straits, and neither one of them can work because of health issues. And all of these things, he knew that he was doing the wrong thing, but he enjoyed the lifestyle that he had. And it is not a good situation
it's hard
for
to
him
watch.
in his life. Yeah.
It's really hard to watch
It's
that kind
terrible.
of thing. Anyways.
Anyway, shifting gears.
Yes. So millions of veterans gain access to a tax advantage savings tool. ABLE, A-B-L-E is how it's spelled, accounts are tax advantage savings vehicles designed for individuals with disabilities, and the program has expanded to an estimated 6 million more Americans. The trigger was a change to the disability age threshold, which was raised from age 26 to 46 for veterans who sustained injuries or developed conditions years into their service, which I'm seeing all day long. That single adjustment has significant consequences. Many service members enlist in their teens or early 20s, serve for a decade or more, and sustain injuries or develop conditions well into their 30s or later. Under the old rules, they were simply shut out. There are at least 5.5 million veterans living with service-connected disabilities, and a significant portion of them now qualify for ABLE accounts for the first time. Conditions like PTSD, traumatic brain injury, chronic pain, hearing loss, and many other conditions, service-connected or not, can meet the eligibility requirements. Here's how it works. Individuals can contribute up to $20,000 annually, and working veterans who don't have an employer-sponsored retirement plan may be eligible for an additional $15,650 on top of that. The account grows tax-free, and the withdrawals are tax-free for qualified expenses. And friends and family members can contribute to these accounts as well, and assets don't count against means-tested benefit programs. Think of them as filling a gap between a retirement account, which you can't touch without penalty, and a checking account, which offers no tax advantage. So how do you see if you're eligible for one of these? Go to Able Now, that's ABLENOW.com, and take the eligibility quiz to see if you qualify. Good grief. Again, that's AbleNow.com.
And this is just for the veterans. As a veteran, you can open an ABLE account regardless of your VA disability percentage. However, a VA rating does not automatically grant you eligibility. ABLE accounts rely on Social Security Administration medical criteria rather than the VA percentages criteria.
That's very interesting. If If anybody out there goes to this website and has success with it, I would love to hear about it. You can email me, Sherry, Sherri, at rfmoney.com, because I would like to know how easy the process really was.
Well, I took that ABLE survey at the very
you
beginning.
did?
I did take it. It was extremely easy.
Ah, well, good.
Yep. All right. So let's talk about medical breaches. Medical breaches happen, and they happen very often, and here's how to prepare. One recent healthcare breach may have exposed millions of Social Security numbers. And when a company suffers a data breach, the outcome can be bad for you. But when the data breach is a healthcare related, it can be devastating. According to the Health and Human Services, nearly 62 million people had their protected health information exposed in 2025. And more than 2,200 U.S. healthcare centers have reported breaches since 2023. Apart from providers, hospitals, and insurers, breaches can also hit healthcare vendors. In one recent example, a massive breach of Trazito Provider Solutions, which is a company that provides claims management and billing services for the healthcare industry, was compromised, and over 3.4 million people's information was stolen. That included names, addresses, dates of birth, Social Security numbers, insurance numbers, and more.
The impact of a healthcare-related breach can be far more acute, complex, and longer-lasting than that of other types of breaches. This is because a person's healthcare file contains extremely sensitive details about their well-being and identity and could include confidential financial information. Breaches like the one at Trazito involve not just publicly available data, but private information like Social Security numbers are particularly dangerous. If your protected health information, such as your Social Security number, medical history, prescriptions, financial details, and insurance policy information, has been exposed in a healthcare breach, the long-term threat to your privacy and identity could include the following: increased risk of identity theft and medical or insurance fraud. Cybercriminals could use your personal information, personal and financial, to impersonate you and file false claims in your name, leaving you stuck with undeserved medical bills and potentially destroying your credit. You could also wind up paying the price in terms of fines, legal action, or loss of insurance coverage. Meanwhile, fraudsters could sell your data to the highest bidder on the dark web.
You're also exposed to an increased risk of scams and, worse yet, denial of care. Bad actors could use stolen medical records to misrepresent your health status, potentially causing you to be denied proper care or receive incorrect treatment. They might even use your health details against you as part of a coercion or blackmail campaign, or in phishing campaigns where they reach out with fake offers of free treatments or benefits for your medical conditions. And another thing is that you may be denied access to your own medical records. Privacy laws require healthcare providers to keep everyone's medical information private, including that of fraudsters. This means if you contact your provider and tell them an imposter's information may have gotten into your medical records, they might deny access to those records simply because of a second person's identity may be involved.
This just seems so wrong. And consider the mental and emotional anguish. If intimate details about your health and well-being have been exposed, it might lead to feelings of fear, distrust, and anxiety. If you lose trust in your medical providers, you might start to avoid medical care, which could affect your long-term health. The question, though, is how can you protect yourself against medical data breaches? Because healthcare data breaches can happen at any time, it is best to take day-to-day preventative measures that can limit the damage should one occur. Here are some tips. Obviously, you can't stop the breaches, but you can be vigilant against fraudsters working to get into your finances, your records, and your psyche. Always be vigilant for signs of medical identity theft. Look for bills for services you never received, collection notices about medical debts you don't recognize, or unexpected notices that you've reached your insurance plan's limits or have been denied coverage. And never share your information about your medical benefits or insurance with anyone other than your medical provider, or give out your Social Security number to medical providers unless they absolutely need it. It should never be used as a medical ID number. And when using an online patient portal, choose extremely strong passwords and change it often. Add multi-factor authentication to your accounts, which creates a second layer of protection. And if you lose your medical ID card, it could fall into the wrong hands. So be extremely careful with that card and never share it. And for better protection, store that information digitally in a password manager if you can.
This reminds me of something that just happened to me about 6 months ago. I can't remember who I was referred to for something, doctor wise. I can't remember what it was. But anyways, I get this bill, and it's from a company. It's a third-party vendor that does the billing. And so I called and I said, I don't even recognize this company name. Do I really owe this? And then they told me what company I had gone to medically. And then the fact that they use a third-party vendor that doesn't even have their name on it. So question everything.
Absolutely.
Don't just believe because it came in the mail that you really owe it. Make sure you verify. So what to do if your information may have been exposed? If you receive a notification letter or hear news about a data breach affecting one of your medical providers, it's time to kick your protective measures up a notch. Ask your healthcare insurer to have your account number changed if possible, and immediately change the passwords for any online health portals you use. Request a copy of your medical records from each of your providers. This way you'll have an accurate record on hand in case a fraudster's information ends up in your file. If you've stored payment information in a health portal, this data could be at risk. Ask your bank and credit card issuers to put alerts on your accounts, even if your medical provider claims financial information was not involved in the breach. Check your credit score and credit reports carefully, especially for any signs of fraudulent medical debts on an ongoing basis. Or do what I did and freeze your credit reports with all 3 agencies. What to do if you suspect medical identity theft? If you believe you become victimized by medical identity theft, it's imperative that you get your records corrected and immediately begin the process of recovering your identity. Get hold of your medical records. If you haven't already done so, contact your provider for a full copy of all your records so that you can review them for accuracy and request corrections if needed. Avoid mentioning fraud or theft in your request because, as mentioned earlier, a medical provider might deny access if they believe another person's data is involved and that you're not really you.
Right.
I would suggest contacting your doctor's billing department. Medical identity theft often results in unwarranted debt or fraudulent claims for medical services. If you've discovered an unusual debt, contact your provider's billing department and then ask them to confirm things like dates of service, the facility where services were provided, and the doctor and medical codes involved. Additionally, if you discover fraudulent charges or claims involving Medicare or Medicaid coverage, file a report online or call 800-HHS or TIPS, TIPS.
Yep. You also need to notify the authorities. File an identity theft report with the Federal Trade Commission, and it's really actually very easy to do that, so don't think it's very cumbersome. If you receive phishing messages or calls that may involve your stolen medical information, report them to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. And keep watching your credit score and your credit reports. Look for further signs of fraudulent medical debts and keep checking explanations of benefits for unusual claims.
Start reclaiming your identity. The FTC offers helpful resources at its identitytheft.gov website for anyone choosing to begin the identity recovering process on their own. But note that it can be a long and stressful process. As an alternative, you can call upon a dedicated recovery team like the one available through the IDX Complete Plan. They'll work on your behalf and help ensure your identity is fully restored.
This is a scary problem, and you probably read this headline this week. National healthcare fraud takedown results in 455 defendants charged in connection with over $6.5 billion with a B in alleged healthcare fraud. So this is not a small thing. This is a massive thing.
Yeah, and I can't believe how much they've uncovered in the last 6 months.
Oh, yeah. Kennedy's going after them.
Yep.
Big time.
I'm glad.
Me too.
You've been listening to Your Money, brought to you by Lifespan Wealth Management, proudly serving Middle Georgia for over 30 years. Our mission? Helping folks just like you plan for a secure and stress-free retirement. Need a trusted financial advisor? Call us today at 478-922-8100 and schedule your complimentary consultation at our Macon or Warner Robins office. Want to learn more? Visit us anytime at retirerelax.com. Because when you plan smart, you can retire and relax. And here's something extra. We offer free educational seminars for the community. If your group needs a guest speaker, give us a call and let's make it happen. That's 478-922-8100. Now, let's get back to the show.
Okay, let's discuss some of the common and biggest mistakes retirees make. When people think about retirement, they often imagine simpler finances and lower taxes. But in reality, retirement can be one of the most complicated stages of life when it comes to taxes. So today we're going to talk about those tax mistakes and, more importantly, how to avoid them. Because the truth is, many retirees don't lose money in retirement because of bad investments. They lose it because of tax planning mistakes they never saw coming. The first mistake is assuming that taxes automatically go down in retirement. They assume this because they assume that once they stop working, they move into a lower tax bracket. However, that's not always how it works.
Yes, in retirement, income often comes from multiple sources all at once. Social Security, pensions, IRA withdrawals, 401k distributions, and investment income. I have multiple clients that have required minimum distributions that are over $100,000 a year, and they don't need this money. So they take it out, pay the taxes on it, and reinvest it. I just recently saw a man who came to see me for a consult, and his investments have grown to over $7 million, and he hates his required minimum distributions, which I get, and his accounts grow every year, and the percentage he has to take out every year increases because of his age, and he has to pay more taxes. The only suggestion I could make for him was to donate his RMD to a nonprofit, because that's the only way around it.
Yep, you're right, Sherry. When all these streams of income are stacked together, it can unexpectedly push retirees into a higher tax bracket, and that's one they hadn't planned for. What surprises many people is that retirement income doesn't replace wages. It often adds up on top of everything else. So instead of taxes going down, sometimes they stay the same or even go up. And mistake number 2 is not having a withdrawal strategy. Many retirees just take money out when they need it, usually starting with the required minimum distributions or RMDs once they hit age 73. But without planning ahead, this can lead to higher taxes later in life. The older you take the money from the accounts actually matters a lot. Pulling from the wrong account at the wrong time can quietly increase lifetime taxes without you even noticing. A smart approach is to be intentional, balancing withdrawals between taxable accounts, tax-deferred accounts, and Roth accounts. In many cases, it makes sense to withdraw more strategically in lower income years or even do a partial Roth conversion before RMDs begin.
The next mistake is not understanding Social Security taxes. Social Security benefits are not always tax-free. In fact, depending on your total income, up to 85% of your Social Security can become taxable. So if you're taking large IRA withdrawals or have investment income on top of your Social Security, you could unintentionally increase how much your benefits are taxed. This creates what many retirees call a tax surprise because they expected Social Security to be simple, but it becomes part of a much larger tax calculation. The fourth mistake is ignoring required minimum distributions or RMDs. RMDs are one of the biggest tax drivers in retirement, and they are fully taxable. The mistake many retirees make is waiting too long to plan for them. Once RMDs begin, you lose a lot of flexibility. You're no longer choosing how much to take. The IRS is. That can force larger taxable income spikes in your 70s. That's why early planning, especially Roth conversions in your 60s, can help make a huge difference in reducing future taxes and creating more control later in life.
Mistake number 5 is forgetting about Medicare costs. This is one of the most overlooked tax-related issues in retirement. Medicare premiums are based on income, not just healthcare needs. That means higher income retirees pay more for Part B and Part D coverage. So a single large IRA withdrawal or Roth conversion can accidentally increase Medicare costs for the entire year. Many people focus only on income taxes, but forget that Medicare surcharges can quietly act like an extra layer of taxation that follows every financial decision. And here's another thing. I started Medicare this year, and our entire business income counts as income under me, so I am paying a hefty monthly premium, and there is no way around it. I already pay myself a salary that would put me in the lowest bracket, but that is not how this works. To me, that is absolutely crazy.
It is.
Here's another big one: poor capital gains planning. Even in retirement, investment decisions matter. Selling investments at the wrong time or all at once can create large capital gains taxes. That can also push retirees into higher tax brackets or affect Social Security taxation and Medicare premiums. The key is timing and spreading things out. In many cases, breaking gains into smaller chunks over multiple years can lead to a much smoother tax outcome.
Yep, mistake 7 is missing tax-efficient giving strategies. Many retirees are charitable, but not always tax-efficient. Instead of donating cash, retirees over age 70 and a half may be able to give directly from their IRAs using something called a qualified charitable distribution, or a QCD. This strategy can reduce taxable income and satisfy required minimum distributions at the same time. It's a powerful tool because it allows retirees to support causes they care about while reducing what shows up on their tax return.
I agree. And the last of the 8 is not planning for inheritance taxes. A lot of retirees focus on building wealth, but forget how that wealth is taxed after they're gone. Today's inherited IRAs generally must be withdrawn within 10 years. That's for non-spouse beneficiaries. That means beneficiaries may face large tax bills in a relatively short window of time. Without planning, this can unintentionally shift a tax burden to the next generation instead of spreading it out more efficiently. Closing thought. At the end of the day, retirement tax planning isn't about avoiding taxes completely. It's about controlling when and how you pay them and making sure no single year surprises you. Because the retirees who tend to do their best financially aren't just the ones who save the most. They're the ones who plan the smartest. If you'd like to discuss your strategy or create one, please give us a call and set up a meeting with one of our advisors. We would love to meet you, and the number here is 478-922-8100.
So, what happens when you die without a will? When most people think about estate planning, they think it's something they'll get to later. But here's the reality. If someone dies without a will, the state already has a plan for them. Now, if that is what you want, then I guess you already have
A plan in place.
yeah, I guess it's all covered for you in that sense. And then the state has completed your estate planning. But we don't know anyone who really believes that is a good idea. Most people who have completed a will just have not taken the time. Excuse me. Most people who haven't completed a will just haven't taken the time to get it done. And the problem is that if they were to die today and the state decides how to divvy up their estate, it may not match what they actually wanted. Today, we're talking about what actually happens when you die without a will and why it can create confusion, delays, and unexpected outcomes for your family.
That's right. The state takes over the process when someone dies without a will. They are considered to have died intestate. That means the state steps in and decides how everything is handled. A court will appoint someone called as an administrator to manage the estate. This person is responsible for gathering assets, paying debts, and distributing what's left. But here's the important part. This process is guided by state law, not personal wishes. So instead of what did they want, the question becomes, what does the law say should happen next?
Yep. The administrator is the courts, and they make all the decisions. It becomes very clinical, a very legal decision on who gets what. There are no personal instructions for asset distributions, and the family has no say in the matter. Instead, the state follows a strict order of inheritance. Typically, assets go to the first surviving spouse and the children. If there are no children, it may go to the parents, siblings, or more distant relatives. What surprises many families is just how rigid the system is. It doesn't consider relationships, estrangements, or informal promises. So even if someone intended to leave money to a close friend, say a partner they weren't legally married to, or a charity, they won't receive anything unless the law specifically allows it.
And the process through the state usually takes much longer than if you had completed the estate planning process prior to your death. You know, probate can take a long time, but dying interstate adds another layer of complexity, lengthening the time, and usually makes it slower because the court must verify heirs, appoint an administrator, and inventory assets, and resolve disputes in family members when they disagree. This can stretch the process from months into years or more.
You know, example of this is my cousin died over 2 years ago, and his sister was his sole beneficiary. And so within 2 weeks, she died within 2 weeks of him dying. And she died intestate. So they had to settle his estate into her first. And then because she was died intestate, instead of having it go to like her mom and dad who were still alive, it went to 27 other people. down the line.
And you're on the list, right?
I am. So,
That's how he's seeing this firsthand.
yep.
Oh my gosh, all because there was no will. And during that time, assets are often frozen, meaning families may not have immediate access to money that's needed for bills, mortgages, or final expenses. Sadly, family conflicts become more likely when there are no clear instructions because emotions and uncertainty take over. Even close families can experience tension during this process because now everything becomes an interpretation instead of instruction. And unfortunately, those disagreements often happen at the worst possible time while people are grieving.
That's right. I misspoke. Her parents were not alive. There's another critical point to make here, though, especially for those with minors or relatives with disabilities. The court controls guardianship decisions. Would you want the courts to make the decision for who's going to raise your child? This is one of the most important reasons a will exists. Without written instructions, a judge will appoint a legal guardian based on what they believe is best for the child. The courts try to do the right thing. Their decisions may not match the family preferences or the parents' informal wishes, and that uncertainty can be one of the most emotionally difficult parts of surviving for the surviving family members.
I have to mention, I had a phone appointment with a lady just this week who takes care of a handicapped child who is not functional. And she's been doing it for probably 20 years. And I told her about us having this program called Vanilla, where you can create these documents for free. I said, have you got any of this done in case something happens to you? And she said, no, but it's been on my mind. That's what I hear from everybody. It's been on my mind, but I haven't done it. So I sent her the link last week, and I hope she gets things in order so that when she passes, things go the way that it needs to go for this child that's now an adult. Anyways, of course, taxes and debts still get paid first, and that is the case whether you have a will or not before anyone inherits anything. This includes credit cards, medical bills, final income taxes, and sometimes estate-related expenses. Only after those obligations are settled does any remaining money get distributed. What many people don't realize is that creditors are paid before family members receive their inheritance, so even a modest estate can shrink significantly before heirs even see it.
Absolutely.
There are some assets that pass to heirs outside the will if they're properly set up. For instance, if there's a TOD or a transfer on death designation with beneficiaries identified on investment accounts, or a POD, pay on death designation on banking accounts, then they will transfer to those beneficiaries outside of the will. Insurance policies operate the same way but need to be properly set up. If those are missing or outdated, those assets may also end up going through probate, and they can override what someone may have verbally told their family. It's a reminder that estate planning is not just about a will, it's about keeping all beneficiary forms up to date as well.
Yep.
Closing thoughts. At the end of the day, dying without a will doesn't mean nothing happens. It means the state makes the decisions for you, and you, the survivors, don't have control. And while those rules are designed to be fair, they are not personal. They don't reflect relationships, intentions, or unique family situations. A will is really just a way of saying, I want to make these decisions myself instead of leaving them to the court system. Because the biggest difference between having a plan and not having one is control. We offer access to a website that allows you to create a will, power of attorney, and advance directive for free. You just need to get it notarized to make it legal. If you're interested in getting access to the Document Builder website, all you need to do is email Cory, Cory, at rfmoney.com. Your first and last name, and we need your email address so that we can send the invite to you.
And I just want to make a point here. We don't make any money on this.
Right.
We signed
And
up.
we don't see your personal information either.
That's right. That's between you and Vanilla. We signed up for this as a service to the community, basically. So don't think that we're making money. And this is not just. It's not just. We don't get a kickback or anything from Vanilla. We're not advertising for them. We are, but we don't get anything for it. It's just. We know that people need these documents. So these are basic documents. So if you have something more complicated, they have attorneys that can help you with the complicated stuff, but it's much less than you going out and finding an attorney.
I was doing a life book seminar years ago in Warner Robins, and I still do that seminar if anybody's interested in a estate planning seminar for your church or civic organization or whatever. All you have to do is call and ask me to come speak.
Yep.
And I don't charge anything for it. But anyways, this woman raised her hand during the seminar, and she said, I've got to tell everyone my story. She said, I was after my husband for years to get a will done, and he kept refusing. and they were in their 60s, and he has 2 kids from a previous marriage. Okay, so he finally gives in to her and tells her that he did it. He got it done online, and it's done. She didn't ask to see it. She didn't ask to read it. She didn't get a printout. It's like she trusted him. She believed that he actually did it. Well, he did it, but he never signed it. And so it was in the computer, but it was worthless. So guess what? His 2 kids from the previous marriage and her, they each got 1/3 of the estate instead of her getting 100%, which is what his intention was. I could not believe, why not get this done?
And they didn't like her, and they tried to kick her out of the house, right?
Oh, that's right, because all 3 of them owned 1/3 of the house. That's exactly right. I forgot about that part. Yeah, they wanted to get her out so they could sell that house and get the money. Oh my gosh, it was terrible.
Terrible stuff.
Terrible.
Now, for a modern scam, the package that was never yours. We are all busy in our own way. We all seem to have 100 things to do all the time, from work to taking care of kids, team sports, running errands, getting the tires rotated, and 100 other things. Don't forget to add in all the telephone calls, text messages, and emails that distract us all day long. And right in the middle of all of that, you get a text message from a delivery service informing you that a package addressed to you could not be delivered due to an incomplete address or some other
inane reason. You're right. I get it. Yeah.
They just make it up at this point. The issue could be corrected online, plus a small admin fee to reschedule the delivery.
You know, I get these on a regular basis, and it's eerie how often they corresponded to times I've actually am expecting a delivery, and it's spooky. The first time this happened, I did not have a sense of suspicion. It felt routine since I was expecting a package, and it blended into a rather hectic day. And the text looked really legit.
Wow.
But now I'm on high alert.
But so many people don't come from the background that you came from, Randy. You are more suspicious of this sort of thing than most. Those texts come in with a link for the recipient to click on in order to resolve their supposed issue and to pay the few dollars to reschedule the delivery. And what they find is a well-crafted site that appears legitimate. It mimics a well-known shipping company, the logos are correct, the layout is familiar, and most think twice. After confirming the address, it requests a small payment to release the package.
Right, and it's small enough that it doesn't raise concerns. After all, what scammer is after just a few dollars? So people think it can't be a scam. It just doesn't raise concern. It feels like a standard delivery fee or a processing charge. So people just enter all their PII, their name, address, credit card details, and then they move on with their day.
Yep, and nothing seemed wrong with that in that moment. There were no warnings, no errors, no obvious signs that anything unusual had just happened. A couple of days later, though, things will begin to change. You may get a call from the bank or your credit card company about suspicious activity on the account. First, the charges are small, just $1 or $2 here and there, and those are easy to overlook. But then the larger transactions start to appear. Small charges appear first, and these are just designed to test whether the credit card credit cards are active. Basically, testing the water. And then larger purchases follow. Sometimes the data is sold and reused across multiple platforms. And by the time it is noticed, the damage has already been done or at least in motion.
The amount is intentionally low because the scam isn't really about the money at the moment. It's about lowering defenses just enough to get someone to enter sensitive information. What we're talking about is just a twist on one of the most common scams that's happening online today. It's called a phishing scam. And it doesn't rely on breaking into systems or hacking devices. It relies on something much easier to exploit: trust and urgency. What makes this scam so effective is not its complexity, but its timing. It arrives when most people are distracted. It creates urgency. It looks familiar enough to feel safe, and it only needs one moment of trust. The scam usually begins with a message. It might look like it comes from USPS, UPS, Amazon, or another well-known company. Sometimes even banks or payment apps are impersonated. The message almost always creates urgency. It suggests something is wrong that needs immediate attention, a delivery problem, a locked account, a payment issue. The goal is to get the person to act quickly before they have time to think it through.
Then comes the link. At first glance, it looks normal, but often there are small differences, extra letters, unusual domains, or slight misspellings that are easy to miss when you're not looking closely. That link leads to a fake website designed to look almost identical to a real one. Everything is built to feel familiar. The branding, the layout, even the wording. The purpose is simple: make the user believe they are on a legitimate page. credit card details, personal data, sometimes even login credentials. And once that information is submitted, it can be used immediately.
Yep. In many cases, victims don't realize what has happened until days later, but there's clear warning signs. What you need to do is stop and pause. That is the focus of this article. Just take time, step back from these, and look at everything before you act.
Yep, I agree.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Your Money, produced by Lifespan Wealth Management. As financial advisors, the main thing they do is provide retirement planning and advice and manage their clients' investment accounts. If you're looking for a financial advisor, please contact their office at 478-922-8100 to set up your complimentary consultation. You can learn more about them by visiting their website, retirerelax.com. And if you have a question or a topic that you would like them to cover in next week's broadcast, you can email Randy at rfmoney.com. They look forward to connecting with you next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth.